Well, if I were to be completely honest with you, in the past, most often my self-care looked like going through the Taco Bell drive-thru followed by Starbucks, and I would sit in the parking lot and eat my tacos and drink my coffee while watching some kind of YouTube video. And you know, it was my way of, if I had a good day, I would do that. If I had a bad day, I would do that. If I was feeling entitled, stressed out, then, I mean, if I was feeling stressed out, I definitely did that, right? But more recently, I have figured out some better ways to care for myself. So let's talk about those today. Well, hi, I'm Dawn from The Minimal Mom, and we love sharing about family minimalism. And I think this idea of self-care goes right along with it, because one of the reasons I wanted to simplify my house was for my own mental well-being, right? And so minimalism has largely played into that, and we will talk about that a little bit. But I love what John Eldredge says in his book, Take Your Life Back. He makes a distinct clarification between care and caring for our body and our soul and escape, when we do things to escape our current reality. And I can see how the two can get a little mixed up. And as I look back at what I used to do, like I said, like going to Starbucks and Taco Bell and then watching a YouTube video, that could probably be categorized as escape. And so I think it can be helpful if we break this topic down into mind, body, and spirit, and the different areas of our life that we really need to care for. And they're very intertwined, but I still think there's kind of specific things that we do for each area. One of my favorite self-care things now that I do almost on a daily basis is to take a bath. And I was watching Mel Robbins on Instagram the other day, and she actually, well, she had a picture of herself in the bathtub, which I'm not brave enough to do. But she was talking about how she had stopped in the middle of her day to take a warm bath, which if you're working from home, you have that luxury. Otherwise, we don't always. But she was talking about the impact that it actually has on our nervous system. I know in the past, I've thought of taking a bath as just, you know, a nice thing at the end of the day. It feels nice. But when you actually break down the impact that it has on our nervous system, she kind of broke down the physiological effects of how it relaxes our body and helps to decrease our stress level. And I thought it was actually really cool that she talked about that she would stop in the middle of her workday to do that. And kind of the signal to her that she needed that was that she was snapping at her staff. And so I was like, oh, that's good awareness, Mel. And similarly, in the past, especially when we were selling real estate, I would know when I was starting to feel stressed. I would be at my computer and I would get an email or a phone call or something. And I knew when I was feeling stressed because I would want to go to the kitchen and get something to eat, either something sugary or high fat. And that's actually a sign that our body is preparing for fight or flight. So if you've noticed that you get these like food cravings when you're feeling stressed out, it's actually your body trying to prepare for a fight or for you to run away. So as I developed awareness around this, I was like, oh, okay. I'm wanting to go to the kitchen and find like some brownies or something, but what my body's telling me is that we are in a state of stress. We need to do something to come down from that. And unfortunately, the like eating the brownies didn't actually make me feel better or relieve my stress. So what I started to do then, I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a quick walk up and down the driveway. And it was amazing to me how doing something physical like that, whether it's like walking or taking a bath, how that caused my mind then to settle back down and for my stress levels to come down. And it's important to realize that stress isn't bad. Stress is important. If we had no stress, we'd never build muscles, we'd never build our immune system, we wouldn't grow really. But stress is meant to be visited and then come back down. It's not meant for us to live there. And that's really when we get in trouble with stress, right? Is the chronic stress and the constant feelings of stress. And that's then also when we find ourselves doing these things to escape, like binge watching Netflix or eating cream cheese stuffed jalapenos or whatever, right? And I think we know that, but it does take a little bit of awareness to change these habits. And so a couple other things for my body, and then we'll move on to mind and spirit. Like I said, walking. So now I make it a habit to walk daily. Most often I actually try to have no input. So I don't even listen to podcasts. Sometimes I'll listen to music, but I really try for that to be a time to let my brain process everything that's going on. When we look at our culture now, we have so much input all of the time that our brain doesn't get the time that it needs to process. It's when it files things, it's when it forms memories. And so if you feel like you're always forgetting things and you feel frazzled, it could be that your brain's not getting processing time. So by taking a walk every day, that has been huge, and it wasn't easy in the beginning. I didn't start out saying like, oh, I'm so excited to walk every day, especially when it's like 12 degrees out in Minnesota, but I made myself do it. And then eventually I got like addicted to that, and I was like, I have to do this. And so it's been a really good thing. The other thing is sleep. I mean, Tom and I are like you, where, you know, it's like our bedtime is like 9:30, and you know how it's like 9:35, but you were watching a show on Netflix and you kind of just want to watch one more. And so we've had to be like, no, it is 9:30. We watch one episode of whatever show we're watching at the time on Netflix, and that's it. And we have to be really firm with that with ourselves, because we know, like, especially when you're getting to the end of a season, how it's like, oh, just one more. Oh, well, you know. And so we're just like, one show, 9:30, like that's it. Another thing I've been doing for body, if you've seen any of the videos with Diana, is investing in my skincare a little bit. But here's the thing, I'm not doing this so I look young when I'm 90. Like, I really don't care about that. But I have found that it just feels good for me to do that for myself and to wash my face every day and take good care of my skin. I've recently started using the Dime products, which you've probably seen tons of others talk about that. But I actually really like their hydraulic acid, is that what it's called? I don't know, I'll link to it. The acid and the night cream. So I just bought those too because I was trying to not spend too much money. But I'll put a code down below. It's not my code. There's no sponsors for this. It's actually Allie from Proverbs 31 Girl. I really like following her on Instagram. She's also from Minnesota. So I'm just gonna use her code because I don't have a code and I think she's great. So if she gets some credit for it, great. But you can save 20%. And so I'll link to the products that I got and her code because I have really enjoyed it, and it's unfortunately taken a little trial and error to find just the right products that I like. But these two are for sure winners, so I'll link those down below. The other thing I've had to do for my mind is to really highly guard what comes in. For me, I read fiction. It engages your mind in a different way, and it literally can transport you to a different time, a different place, but again, not in an escape way, in a way like you're giving your brain time to rest and relief from your current stressful situations. And so reading for fiction is very good for our brains. I mean, reading for self-improvement is awesome too, but at the end of the day, I've noticed I have to do fiction, otherwise my mind will swirl with ideas. And I've totally turned it into my mom, by the way. This is what my mom would always do. It's awesome. I have a great mom. And circling back to what I talked about in the beginning, I actually feel like minimalism has been one of the best things that I've done for my mind by decreasing the inventory in our house so I don't have so much to keep track of. Even making rules for myself, like I'm not gonna keep stuff in my closet that doesn't fit. Only having clothes that fit and I feel good in, I think, is a huge form of self-care. And also Cass from Clutterbug, she'll talk about that she decided that she was not keeping guilty clutter anymore. So even if it was something that was a gift or that should have been sentimental to her, something she spent money on that wasn't using, she said, no, I'm too important to keep stuff in my home that feels guilty. So getting rid of that too. And so it's been fun for me to see how, as we've simplified our house and the inventory in our house, it gives me so much more peace of mind, and it does then in turn feel like a form of self-care to have less to manage and to just do these things that cause me to be nicer to myself. So let's talk about the spirit. So I've talked, a little bit about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and what's so cool to me, so on the very base levels are physiological needs like food, clothing, shelter, but above that, above safety and just again those like physical stuff, is actually relationships. It's love and friendship. It's that we need to feel noticed. And I know this has been a difficult thing recently. And it also depends on how you're wired. Like my mom, she needs like social interaction with friends and other people like 2 or 3 times a week for her to really feel good. And for myself, it's usually about once a week. Maybe every 2 weeks that I really enjoy like getting together with some friends and just having coffee or doing whatever. And so I think it depends a little bit on how we're wired. I'm more introverted, so I don't need it quite as frequently, but recognizing that no matter introvert or extrovert, we need people and we need relationships and we feel love. And again, if we live alone, especially right now, this can feel next to impossible. But I have a friend who was feeling like isolated, didn't have a lot of friends, and recently she has had 2 friends come into her life from very unexpected places. And so I feel like if it's something that we just kind of like turn our heart towards or our mind towards, that they're out there, and there are like-minded people with you that are also looking for friends right now. And even if it is virtually connecting with them, I feel like they're out there with a little bit of intentionality to try and find them. I think it's a total worthwhile pursuit, and I think you will find them. And so we're just not meant to be alone, right? And I wish I could just come to your house and have coffee with you. Like, that would be the best, but we know that's not possible. And so finding some people around us, it's so important. And especially if we've just been feeling kind of down and yucky, it might be, again, something worth putting some energy into. Which is one of the things too for spirit, is to laugh more. And I remember when I've talked about like the therapist we'd have on the radio with us, and he would say, he's like, there's nothing better than a good belly laugh to make us feel better, to reduce the stress. And I always thought about him like a good belly laugh. And so sometimes Diana and I will joke about that. If we get laughing really hard, we're like, oh, Jim would be so happy right now that we're having a good belly laugh. But also along those lines, I've really found that helping other people helps me keep proper perspective. My mom was so great over the holidays. She helped the kids make Christmas cards for the residents of a local nursing home. She's working on Valentine's with them as well. And so I would love to know, you know, in the past, self-care was something where I was like, when we had really little kids, I was just like, well, yeah, someday, right? So I'd love to know, have you found things that even if we're at home a lot right now, or you don't always get as much alone time as you would like, have you found things that you really rely on to care for your body and your mind and your soul, so that we can feel well and just keep a good outlook on life, right? I think that's kind of the goal with all this. So I'd love to know your favorites down below too. I know there's probably many that I haven't mentioned. So leave that down below. It's so fun for others to read through those comments as well. But otherwise, I hope you have a great day. I hope you get a little time for yourself. I love you, and I will see you again soon.